Alright, this video right here isn't for everyone. But what made me do this video is when I be on social media, and this ain't for everyone because I'm speaking to black people on this one. When it comes to social media, we are the biggest at exploiting ourselves in a negative light. And I say this because anything that when it comes to World Star, us doing ratchet shit, fighting each other, putting down each other, uh, feeding off the misery of others, we're all for it, we promote it, we share it, whatever gets 100 likes. If people are having problems with their relationship, talking down on their significant other, the likes go up, the shares go up. If it's something ratchet, ghetto, the shares go up, the likes go up. If we fighting each other, doing this, doing that, the likes go up, the shares go up. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because for the simple fact that when anything of success or in a positive light, we really don't cling to it or promote it or endorse it or embrace it. And I say yes because as a people, to a certain degree, we're lost. And I like they say, history. You got to know where you've been to know where you're going. And on my free time, I do a lot of. I've been doing a lot of history background and just tracing back ancestry and stuff like that, and it leads biblical and everything. And here and there, I drop a jewel on Facebook just to see how people react to it, or even if they take the time to even read it. And in my findings, a lot we're actually part of one of the biggest identity thefts in human history, because our history, especially as African American, I really don't even like say African American that much no more, because in what blacks in America, because from our history really starts with slavery as we know of it. When if it gets down to what before before slavery, it's like go back to Africa. Well, we're gonna go back to Africa when we really don't know where our origins are to a certain degree, but it begins there, and it begins with slavery. Well, it starts with slavery, and really, and this is where the biggest identity theft comes in, because if you take the time to look back, we was never really Africans. Like, and this is where the us exploiting each other in a negative light. From the introduction of slavery, we was taught self-hate, in which is that we sold other Africans into slavery. So it puts in, excuse what I'm about to say, it puts in our head from the gate of our history in America that a nigga can't trust another nigga because another black sold another black into slavery. But this is where the identity theft comes in. What if we was never Africans? Like, we was always, when if you look at old slavery posters and ads when they were selling slaves, they never was like a auction of African slaves, blah blah blah. Really, they would never really, the word African was never really used a lot. It was more Negroes, in which Negroes was it's called Negro land. It's in Guana in the slave coast. And so even when the beginning of slavery, to a certain degree, we wasn't called African slaves. We was called Negroes because we was different from the Africans. So we were taught to put in our head that where we were sold, Africans sold other Africans into slavery, but that can't be 100% true, because why would another person sell another person of the same kind to somebody not knowing if themselves might not might ever become a slave themselves. So that's the psychological part of how we was of the identity theft, and this is where Negro comes in into play, because if we was Africans, it would just been Africans and wouldn't have been Negroes. But like I said, what if we was never really truly Africans, but African descent to a certain degree? And this is where biblical comes in, and this is where the biggest identity thefts. Because as I've been doing research and just looking back on time and doing biblical research, the Hebrew people of the Bible, it's stated that the Hebrews could be mistaken Egyptians. The Egyptians favored Africans. So if what's African Americans, if you look back in the time of the beginning of slavery and the picture, the African to this day that has never really had his blood mixed with a different race, still never really favored, to a certain degree, didn't look 100% like the Africans back in the beginning of slavery. And even the Africans that was around that time really didn't look like the slaves that came to America. And this is where it gets biblical, because like I said, Hebrews favored the Egyptians. Egyptians could be mistaken as Africans. So what if we was never 100% African and we were Hebrew or Israelites or whatever, Negroes? You know what I'm saying? Because Negro land was a place in the western coast of Africa where a lot of where most of the slaveries was taken, in the Ibu tribe, and there was a whole bunch of tribes there. So the identity theft, if we have people that hold down Israel right now that call themselves the Jews, and in which is prosperous, in which most of them came in 1947, in which they say they are the descendants of Sar, which is a different bloodline, but they come from more northern going towards Russia part of that continent. So, but they in 1947 they moved into Israel, and biblical, and this is where the Bible comes into, because a lot of churches and places of Christianity send a lot of money to Israel, and to this day, like churches, money can be exchanged and sent over the seas to these people, and the identity theft was prosperous to a certain degree to a group of people. But as in, if we get into Deuteronomy and the curses of the Hebrew people, who else has endured more of the curses of the Bible besides black people in America? And this is the reason why I said African is, I'm trying to get away from saying the African, because what if we was never African? Who endured more of the curses than us? You know what I'm saying? And if you look at some of the laws and the rules, your families will be broken apart. Your kids, you will birth your kids and they will be taken away from you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I'm not quoting the Bible 100%, but just breaking it down to what it's saying. The men, you will have to watch as your wife is having sex with another man, and you can't do nothing about it. Your wife will birth another man's child. Sounds like a slavery 100% to me. You will be called bad words throughout the lands. And if anybody don't know what a bad word is like saying is nigger. You know what I'm saying? And across the lands, like who else? What other bad word, racial term has a more effect across the whole world and is a universal word besides nigga? Let me think what else. I mean, the list can go on. Like, you will be the children and the people will be spread in different corners of the world. We all know that it's slaves that was taken through that slave trade that has ended up in almost every country continent on this planet, and all the way down to if we get around America, South America was one of the big slave ports. Um, the islands, Caribbeans, Dominican, you know what I'm saying, Hawaii, everywhere the the black people of America, the especially I mean the first ones, the first slaves were dropped off all in. So that's where biblical comes in. And but like I said, it's the biggest identity theft ever. Like and we're so gone that when like I dropped jewels just to see if people would catch on to it or even think outside the box of what you've been told and what you believe. And like I'm not going against the Bible and saying that it's not wrong, but what if the stories of it was actually ours and was our story and was meant for us, and everything that we have been taught through the Bible is not 100% right. And I learned a lot from a YouTube pastor out of Philadelphia. He does the Hebrew Nugget, and that's the name of the channel. And if you ain't never watched that, just look up the Hebrew Nugget and listen to what he said. He is enlightened me on a lot of stuff. But like I said, we're so broken and we're so the negative shit. And the reason why we can't get right as a people is because at the end of the day, we can't accept anything. We're taught to be negative, and then you don't know where you're going to know till you know where you're being. So we